Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland Reviewer, and welcome to Lost in the Wasteland, my weekly interview show where I learn a little bit more about somebody else's perspective on movies. And after months of getting great opportunities to talk to some filmmakers, I'm dabbling back into some of my frequent collaborators, bringing them back for fourth and fifth and sometimes sixth rounds of interviews. And joining me is one of my most frequent collaborators, which is actually kind of interesting that you've only been on for now the fourth time on this interview show because we do so many other shows together. It is Luke. Luke, thank you so much for coming on.
Hello, and thank you for having me. I do apologize. I'm going to be coughing and muting myself a lot because I'm going through COVID, so bear with me, guys. But always happy to be back and talk some movies and even TV shows.
Yep. Luke and I are both experiencing sick boy summers. So,
Correct.
whoo. But before we dive in, because this show is about my guest, shameless plugs all around, Luke. Where can people find you?
So people can find me every second Friday. My podcast Flix and Chill drops everywhere where podcasts are found. So and yeah, that's just me talking to anybody who wants to talk to me about life and movies, and it can range from hour and a half to sometimes 3.5 hours. So hey, and Letterboxd in Movies Lost, where I log so many movies, but I'm talking to the person who somehow invented time traveling, so I cannot compare to Shane Conto himself.
Wow. Thanks, Luke.
I know.
And Luke buried the lead that Luke is also my co-host on the Cinematic Wasteland, which is our monthly show, our
I always
podcast
forget
over on the SPDM crew. It's a running joke whether Luke and Adam are co-hosts or guests on the show.
because I always
And
view it as your podcast, and I'm just and you're just graciously allowing us to be there, me and Adam, and I'm like, I always forget, and I feel bad.
well, somebody has to drive the boat, but that doesn't mean that we can't all be equals.
Oh, Captain, my Captain.
Which was funny because our most recent episode, we're all sick boys, and that was quite the interesting experience
Yep,
trying to
yep.
piece, thoughts together and read movie history when you barely have a voice. But no, we do our best. But this is about Luke today for Lost in the Wasteland here. And let's get started with some questions. Let's start off with a couple of favorite type questions. But Luke, what's your favorite movie scene?
So I had to think about it for a bit, but I settled on two. The first one that came to mind almost instantly, but I was like, I need to think of something else, was the Club Silencio scene from Mulholland Drive.
Okay.
I've rewatched, so this year I've rewatched it for a fifth or sixth time now, the movie, I mean, and I absolutely adore it. And I'm at the point where I think I know what's happening in the movie, but I no longer care. I just love that movie so much. I want to be in its presence, and it's like a bathe in those vibes. And I think the Club Silencio scene pretty much that's the like peak of the movie. Not that anything that happens after it is bad. No, no, no. I still love it. It's just that's where the emotions and the atmosphere almost like like boils over in a great way. Only David Lynch knew how to do. Rest
Mhm.
in peace, David Lynch. So like that was the one that immediately came to mind. And when I thought about it, of course, I need to mention another favorite movie, Moulin Rouge, and specifically the Roxanne scene, the tango, where there's like a 8 minute sequence. Excuse me, that's the cough. I couldn't eat. I apologize. And if you know the original Roxanne song, it's kind of slow. It's kind of like Roxanne, you don't wanna do that. I'm not gonna sing it because A, I am a horrible singer, and B, I don't want to get you demonetized, Shane. But how that movie transformed that song into this stunning piece of like editing mainly, where the
Mm.
editing is so wild, but you always know where you are, and you never get lost, you never get dizzy, or at least I didn't. And it just that movie again, talk about, that's to me, that's a peak of that movie where it's like, I hope this scene alone is shown in a any feature editors class, because I feel like that's one of those bright examples of we can do quick cuts and we can do quick editing, but this is how you do it. Not many movies try to do it, but this is how you actually succeed.
So one, I think you have reached um Lynchian enlightenment when you get to the point where you're just like, you know what? I don't even care about understanding this anymore. I just want to experience it. And David Lynch somewhere up in heaven is
Yes,
just like, that's my boy. You figured it out. And it's like Mulholland Drive and basically anything from David Lynch is such an experience, and that scene is very poignant. And Moulin Rouge is definitely well, I know how much Luke loves Moulin Rouge. My journey with Moulin Rouge has been very different in terms of like I didn't like it very much the first time I watched it, and it has taken a long time, and I'm still not a fan of that cover of Roxanne.
fair.
Mostly because Roxanne. Also, to be fair, that was made fun of by my friend Bobby for years. Years. So now all I can think of whenever I hear that is my friend Bobby mocking it. But it is still a very poignant and powerful scene in context of the movie. So I will give it that.
Hmm.
So there you go. So now my next two questions are kind of the opposite ends of a coin here. But starting off, who's your favorite movie protagonist?
So looking at my answers, this is I'm gonna be basic for first the next couple of questions or
Okay.
answers. So like bear with me. I had to go Indiana Jones because like I grew up, watching Indiana Jones. So Harrison Ford, like to me, is always gonna be like yes, Han Solo is great character, and I also love Star Wars. Like whoever knows me knows that I'm a massive Star Wars fan. But Indiana Jones just holds a special place in my heart because he is he is a hero that is not really heroic in a way where he often gets punched, he always gets overpowered, his plans
Yep.
often fail, but like
Mm.
he always like what makes him the hero, he never gives up, and he's always like, oh, that failed. Oh well, let's try different. Let's try it differently, and yeah, eventually he prevails. It's a good thing they only stuck with three movies. I'm just gonna say I cannot imagine like following up those three movies. It's a very good thing.
Which is very interesting as we're recording this, that Disney and Lucasfilms has been buzzing that they're rebooting Indiana Jones. So,
But yeah, anyway.
but
But my
anyway,
next pick for that, I also this is a movie I grew up on, and I'm defending both, not just the first but the second one, and it's Rick O'Connell and Evelyn from the Mummy movies because
mm,
they separately they are great characters and they work together so well. That's why I feel like I'm much higher on the Mummy Returns than most like average person because I think both of them are such a gems. Sure, the
yeah,
Mummy Returns is more of a comedy than like the blend of like horror action comedy. Sure, but Rick and like Brandon Fraser, Rachel Weisz, that duo alone is just so charismatic and they mesh together so well. I just always, ever since I was a kid, I loved both of them.
absolutely. So one actual comment about Indiana Jones, real quick, is that you even agree with Harrison Ford because he loves Indiana Jones a lot more than Han Solo.
Okay.
So which is why he still likes doing Indiana Jones movies,
Hmm.
even though they ended with three of them.
Yes.
And then Rick and Evie are like the bisexual awakening of a generation
And not
because
just them, like, like the Ansunamon character, like, the guy who
yep,
plays the mummy. Like they're like
Emotep and just like
the
and the um what the hell is the group that's supposed to protect?
yeah, the
Uh
protectors, their leader, like, there are some hot
there's a
people in that
hot
movie.
people
I'm like,
in this movie, and then Benny.
Benny.
And then Benny. And then the warden guy. They
Yes,
needed to balance it out somewhere. But no,
correct.
Rick O'Connell is such. They don't make swashbuckling heroes like this anymore. And it makes me sad. And then I love Evie because she's smart, she's nerdy, and she likes to read.
Hmm.
Maybe she shouldn't have read certain things, but we can't hold that completely against her.
Correct.
It got all better. They fixed
Have
it.
you heard the story from behind the scenes, like how what Brendan Fraser did to Arnold Vosloo, the actor? Have you heard about that?
No.
So they were shooting. You know how there's first one of the first scenes, like the actress who plays Patricia Velasquez, I think is the name, like who plays Ang Sunamon. She walks in like a naked, just covered with
Yeah.
like a painting, like
Hmm.
nice scene. So apparently, Brendan Fraser, a bit of a prankster he is, he got the makeup team to do his naked body, and so they when they were shooting the scene, he was expecting her to show up, but Brendan Fraser shows up, butt ass naked with just like tattooed, and I'm like, release that cut, release that, yes,
Release the naked Rick cut. So there we go. Painted Rick.
yeah,
They're a great choice too.
hmm,
And that's why it didn't work. Like nothing against Maria Bello, but like you're not
yes,
Rachel Weisz, and it's just not this. This just wasn't the same.
no,
Um, would I love if they made a fourth one, bringing Rachel Weisz back? Give it to me.
yes.
Give it to me now.
Even though in the current Hollywood and the current screenwriting, it's like, but give it to somebody good. Give it to somebody who actually has passion for those movies. Not like we need to make another sequel, another legacy sequel, cash in the money,
Money,
because of
money, money,
nostalgia.
money. Now, looking on the opposite ends of things, who's your favorite movie antagonist?
So again, my basiness will come through. Joker from The Dark Knight,
Hmm.
T-1000 from Terminator 2, and my latest addition, Darth Vader. Basically, I don't even know if I need to mention why. Like one of the
They're
best
all iconic.
performances of all
So,
time. So Joker, one of the best performances ever. Like Heath Ledger, just enough said. T-1000 was so iconic that in Wayne's World they had the cameo role of him, and they were like, "Oh no!"
yeah.
And Darth Vader, just I think obviously it's the physicality, but what James Earl Jones and his voice brings to that, just so great. I'm like, yep.
No, no, I
Ah.
am your father.
Hmm.
It's impossible. Just it's so iconic. Like Darth Vader is beyond iconic at this point. Like the movie villain.
Yes.
From those movies. And then, we get all the backstory and Anakin Skywalker's a lot more complicated, but still, like that first Star Wars movie, Darth Vader was
Hmm.
so cool. So
Yes.
cool and just crushing people's throats here, there, and everywhere. And also, I'm a humongous Terminator fan. And outside of, Arnold in the first one, the T-1000 is the most interesting antagonist they've been able to come up with. That state of the art special effects to make that liquid metal guy come to life is so cool.
Hmm.
Look at you, James Cameron. Now, Luke, what's your favorite movie ending?
So I do have three choices. Like there might be probably like 100 if I, thought of it more, but the three that came to my mind immediately. So first one was a Nolan movie, but maybe not the one you're thinking of, The Prestige. I
Ah.
still remember when I seen it for the first time, and there's the narration of, "Are you watching closely?" And then there's the final shot of the tank. I'm not gonna say what's in the tank for the people who haven't seen it, but I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh damn! And I think even at my first viewing, it kind of clicked, but I'm like, I need to see this again, and I watched it like two or three more times, and I'm like, that's a great fucking movie. And just in any filmmaker's filmography, this would have been easily their number one. And for in Nolan's, if you told me this is his number five movie for you, I would be like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Even though I love The Prestige.
Mm-hmm.
So my second one is the original Saw because holy twist, Batman. That's
Holy twist, Batman.
it's the Hello Zepp music that became iconic. That great twist where you have the, hey, this is how it all happened, and surprise, motherfucker. Some dead people might not be that dead.
Yeah. Mm.
I was like, holy that's just awesome movie and a great, what became of the franchise later we don't talk about because many of the Saw movies are not great. But the first, I'll die on this hill, the first three are actually solid movies, even though the third one is, eh, but it's still solid. And my last was the latest pick of these, but it's 2016 movie called Raw. It's a French
Mm.
movie where I was on this movie's wavelength from pretty much the entire time. I was like, oh, I'm digging this. I'm digging this. It's this nice, simple growing up story about, hey, this girl happens to be cannibal. I mean, we all have something, right? And then the ending happens, the last 10 seconds, and the movie just ends. And I still remember thinking, no offense to Shane or any American. If this was an American production, I feel like we would have gotten at least 10, 20 minutes more of like, hey, this is what it means. This is flashback to this scene. This is and trying to over explain this. And this
Hmm.
French movie is just like, oh no, we have this one simple act. and That's the
Yep.
end. That's all you need to know. And I'm like, love this. And I love all of these movies.
Well, Luke, and that filmmaker couldn't possibly come up with anything more controversial or wild for
Yeah,
her
yeah.
next film at all.
No, no, no. How do you top
Hmm.
that, right?
How do you top Raw? Definitely not Titan, right?
You mean the Palme d'Or winner?
Palme d'Or winner of Woman Have Sex with a Car.
And we all clapped to this. We all clapped. We all stood up and
Oh, the old couple in the theater left the theater. At that moment, I'm just like, you know, having sex in a car is interesting. That happens a decent amount. Having sex in a car with the car, now that's cinema.
and then what? She gives birth to something afterwards as a product of that unprotected sex with a car.
Hmm.
I'm like, oh, okay.
And she's just casually like a serial killer too. And it's just like this is the kind of cinema that people are missing out on by not watching French cinema.
The
But no,
cinema.
Raw that that stinger at the end of Raw was something else. And you just
Mhm.
like just the context that puts into play. And then Saw is so like that's like modern movie ending twist S
Yes,
tier for
yes.
so many. And then The Prestige is like my number two Christopher Nolan movie. So
Same,
like blew my mind, Luke. Blew
uh,
my mind.
same,
I remember
same.
sitting watching that in college for the first time and just being, what did I just watch? Still hits. Still hits. Now, Luke, what film do you wish you could watch in a theater for the first time? So
So,
to
yeah.
clarify,
Hmm.
because I get asked every time,
Hmm.
you can take this as like this could be literally any movie that you would want this, like if you can make the first time you watch this to be in a theater,
Hmm.
what would that movie be?
So I have two. The first
Okay.
one, again, Mulholland Drive, but specifically because I just learned this story, Coralie Farge, the director of Revenge and the Substance, decided that she wants to be director while sneaking into Cannes 2001 and watching Mulholland Drive. And I'm like, this so much so tracks, and it's also one of her favorite movies. And I'm like, oh, that so tracks. And so I wish if I could somehow be when I was 10, 10 years old, probably a bit too young. No, but look, if I could go back in Cannes and watch 2001 Mulholland Drive, like there, specifically there in that atmosphere,
Hmm.
that would be so fucking cool. And my other answer, just because how beautiful it is, and we have talked about this movie too about a year ago, The
Hmm.
Red Shoes.
Yes.
Because that movie so beautifully restored, shot, made, restored, in a not so small donation by Martin Scorsese himself, Mr. Cinema
Mm.
himself, Martin
Cinema.
Cinema, Martin Cinema
Mar-
Scorsese.
Marty Cinema.
Yes. And that movie, yes. I have, so I'm not gonna bring it because it's downstairs, so I would have to stop this podcast.
Yep.
But I have the red shoes. I have like a special box set that's like a ooh it's like a not a plastic but metal box set that looks like red shoes, like actual red shoes on it.
Oh,
Looks so fucking cool. Like if it was closer, I would have grabbed it.
that is cool.
And that movie is so stunning. If I ever catch it here, like being played in a cinema, I'm booking that ticket. Like
Awesome.
it would be
I
so
would
cool.
love to have seen, because like my idea is like there's plenty of movies that we have all have seen for the first time, you know, at home on a DVD, on a streaming service. And
Yep.
like just certain films that like I wish the first time I experienced this movie was on a big screen. Like I
Hmm.
wish I had that kind of special experience. And the red shoes would have been something
Amazing.
magical. And yes, I like being able to watch Mulholland Drive at Cannes when that debuted, I'm sure was an absolute magical experience.
Mm.
Um, especially for that's wild. She snuck into Cannes to go see that, and then it's just like, I'm gonna make movies.
I don't think it for specifically that, but basically the story of hers was like, oh, my friend and I, we were in Cannes and we didn't have tickets to see it, but we snuck into the auditorium anyway, or something like that. And apparently, ever since then, like she loved that movie. She picked
There
it
you
in her
go.
like top four for like Letterboxd, and like she
Mhm.
said, like even in Substance, you can see many of homages to Mulholland Drive. And I'm like, I need to I love the Substance, so I need to rewatch it because I loved it so much.
New lens, Mulholland
Yeah,
Drive lens.
yeah.
There you go.
Hmm.
Now, Luke, what subject matter would you like to see get the documentary treatment?
So in this answer, I'm gonna cheat because there is already documentary, but it's only a Czech one, and I think
Okay,
many ice hockey fans still don't talk about this nearly enough, just because Americans lost. And I'm talking about the first ever Olympics, where the NHL players were actually able to represent their countries. So 1998 Nagano Olympics in Japan were the very first ones where NHL stopped, so the best of the best could actually compete under their flag. So everybody expected, of course, Wayne Gretzky, Canada, and Russia to be in a finale. Maybe America, but I mean, probably Russia, right? No,
hmm,
it was won by this tiny Czech, tiny country called Czech Republic back in the day because we were quite good. And that is such a magical moment for any Czech living in this time or at that time because literally we all got up around like 5 in the morning because there was a time difference, obviously, to watch it
yeah.
live. And it was such a blast. And, just to beat United States, to beat Canada, and then to beat Russians in the finale, especially if you juxtapose that against our Czechoslovakian history with SSSR and how they occupied us for 21 years, not that long before this happened, this could make a compelling documentary, not just because of the sport, but because of the historical details behind that. And it's awesome. Like, yeah, it's been almost 30 years now, but yeah, great.
I'd watch it. That
Yeah.
sounds really cool to me.
Hmm.
I'm a big sports fan. Like, there's certain sports that I pay a lot more attention to, like baseball and
Hmm.
American football. But like, that just has amazing story written all over it. So
Yep.
I want to
Yep.
see it. And in an unprecedented and unexpected move, we're going to talk about some television real quick.
Woo!
So yes, I don't just talk ask movie questions here. And I'm trying to with some of my later list of questions trying to shake things up too. But here's a couple of questions I have about television. But Luke, what's your favorite television show?
So my all-time must be this British show called Red Dwarf. It's
Mm,
now run for like, or now it has like 12 or 13 seasons. I stopped counting because the original run had 8 seasons because they stopped for a bit and then they made seven and eight season. And then that was the end until 2007 when they made like a mini series, which is kind of homage to Blade Runner, but also kind of interesting because there's like a comedic sitcom, suddenly is more like almost like a drama like with still like bits of comedy, but it's like like a reflective of like life. I'm like, ooh.
mm.
And then they came back with like 9, no, 10, 11, 12 season, so like 3 more seasons. It's a great TV show. It's a blast. It's fun. It's yeah, it's so much fun, especially the first, like genuinely the first 6 seasons are awesome. And my second very close just behind that because I need to rewatch it because I only watched it once, is The Wire. Like
Nice.
I'm one of those annoying people who will not shut the fuck up about The Wire because it's still one of the best underseen show of all time, and everybody's talking about like HBO and Sopranos, great show, yes. You have like Game of Thrones. If you don't count the last 2 seasons, great show, yes. Breaking Bad, but like The Wire is such a almost like odyssey of a TV show where each season is different with the same
Mm.
characters, focusing on different one, first season is like gang violence, second season is like harbor, we go to school system, we go like newspaper system, and like how they all intertwine, and they try to tell us something. If you follow the money, you never know where you're gonna where that money will lead you.
I have
It's
heard absolutely amazing things about The Wire.
it
It is
is
on my
good.
watch list. And I did add Red Dwarf on my watch list at some point because I've heard amazing things about it. And BritBox has the first 8 seasons and then 10 through 13 on
Nice.
it. And then for some reason, Max has season 9, and that's it.
I think season 9 because it's the it's called Back to Earth, and that's the like a mini
It's a
series. It's
three
like the
part.
yes, yes, and it's
Yeah,
that's
that's on
again
Max.
okay, interesting.
Just that one is on Max. The rest of it's on BritBox here in the United States. But like,
I'll say British people are weird, so hey.
there you go. And then, what's your favorite television finale? And in my head, I had series finale, but if there are season finales that stand out, that's good too.
So both I have are see like a actual like series finales, like
Okay.
the end of the end. So Game of Thrones, no, of course not. Imagine if somebody was like, I actually like Game of Thrones ending. I
Well, I
stand King
actually like the
Dragon.
Lost ending, so
Me too. Me,
you
it's
all
not on
could
my
go
list.
suck it.
It's not on my list, but I'm actually like one of the defenders. I'll even hotter take. I actually liked How I Met Your Mother ending. Don't come for me, but it kind of makes sense throughout,
What's funny
with the
is
story.
I've literally only watched the last season of How I Met Your Mother.
Mm.
So I didn't find I didn't like see why everybody was so upset about the season series finale. But I am I'm actually watching How I Met Your Mother right now. I'm through halfway through season 4, and
Nice.
it's always been about Ted and Robin. So what are
Yes.
you all complaining about?
And it's always been about how, hey, sometimes life doesn't work out, but it's fine. It literally is. Sometimes life just doesn't work out, and we get together with your mom, but sometimes people die. Hey.
At the end of the day, if Ted and Robin didn't wind up together, I'd be pissed off.
Mhm.
Honestly, because this is what this whole show's about. But anyway, what are
But
your actual
anyway,
picks?
I was gonna say, but anyway, my actual answer is so first, The Wire, because the ending, without giving anything away,
Mhm.
it's poetic. It ties everything together without tying anything at all together to
Interesting.
be as cryptic as possible for people who have never seen it. But it's just like it fills you with kind of like a sense of melancholy. It's like I was gonna say something else, but I'm like, that's kind of a spoiler.
Okay.
It's like basically like the characters reflecting on everything that character
Mm.
saw and sees, as in the words of Matthew McConaughey, time is a flat circle. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
But it's like it's a great show, and I think the reason it will resonate with pretty much anybody, that show famously is shot as it is, meaning there's no background music unless there's music playing in the background from radio or whatever.
Mm.
And that last scene actually has music. And you see different things, different people doing different things.
Interesting.
And I'm like, that's a very interesting choice for a finale. But yeah, so that would be my number one finale. Number two, very close, is the Breaking Bad. Because I haven't seen this, but I still remember Dexter finished 1 week before Breaking Bad was supposed to finish, right? And I never watched Dexter, but I remember my flatmates at the time watched both, and they were like, "Holy shit, this was a bad ending. This was so fucking bad." And I'm week removed from Breaking Bad finale. I'm enjoying the last season, and it was the first time I've considered, damn, what if the finale sucks? Uh-oh, what if they don't land it? And they fucking did. Like
Yep.
that finale is just so well tied in together, and everything that you kind of know will happen does happen, but it happens in a satisfying way, and yeah, like it will stay with you.
Mm. Absolutely. And Breaking Bad was just one of those special shows that was just consistently great. And I'm actually a bigger fan of Better Call Saul than I am
I am
Breaking
kind
Bad.
of,
And
yeah.
I remember that finale really hitting too. What was wild was that Succession, Barry, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and what we thought was going to be Ted Lasso, but then they announced that they're doing a fourth season. That all ended within a week.
Hmm.
And I felt so bad for The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel because nobody was talking about that, despite the fact that that actually had the best finale.
I've
Just
only
putting it out
seen
there.
one out of four of those, so I cannot comment. I've only seen Ted Lasso, so I still
There
haven't
you go.
seen. I'm one of the few people who still haven't seen Succession. Or
Mhm.
Marvel's Mr. Maisel has been on my radar ever since it started. But as you know, Shane, the queue is so big. Like
The
the
queue is so
time,
big. It's
the
so big.
queue. Yes.
I think thinking about like television finales, my wife and I watched the BoJack Horseman and the Good Place finales in the same night.
That's an experience.
It was emotionally devastating experience. And like The Good Place is up there as I think
Yes.
one of the greatest finales ever. And BoJack, I think, really stuck the landing after
Hmm.
Netflix gave them the middle finger and told them that we were gonna get it was getting canceled, so they had to wrap it up, which still
Yeah.
mad at Netflix. But getting back into kind of the last two questions. So one,
Hmm.
which director do you think would best direct the story of your life?
So I'm a interesting guy. I think everybody like my sense of humor is quirky. Like so many people. I've been told I'm like a piece of chalk. Some people love it, some people hate me. I'm like, okay, fine, it's fine, I'll take it. So I feel like I've come up with two directors because like look. I can be like Spielberg, yes, give me the best, or James Cameron, give me the best. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think if he was alive, David Lynch, I think could have a crack at it.
Mm,
And from the people who are still alive and I admire and I think are they have a unique voice. Damien Chazelle, I feel like I don't do jazz. Like I like jazz, but I don't play jazz. If he wants
mm.
to insert some jazz, sure, go ahead. But like those two came to my mind because I feel like both have a they're like author like level qualities where their movies, love them or hate them, they are not made by a committee, for a lack of better term. Like they feel uniquely theirs.
It's interesting because who would love to see the story of Luke by David Lynch?
Me too.
Like Because like, are you gonna get like a straight story, or are you gonna get like Mulholland Drive? And it's just gonna be like, I don't know what to expect. And I think that's the most magical thing.
As the young people say, I would just, tell him what he needs to know. I would step away and just let him cook. Like, like if he was still alive, if he was
Mm.
still alive, like, still the thought of us not getting a new David Lynch movie pains me. Like, I've been kind of like, ever since he announced that he was sick, like, no, last November, October, I was like, oh no. I was like, let's hope like he gets over it and like, maybe one more movie, one more, and then he died. I was like, fuck. So that's all I'm gonna say.
There's been a few just random, like, I can't believe that person died in the past like 2 days.
Yeah.
So we're in a weird place, and like these are relatively young, like middle-aged actors that are just like, well, cancer's a shit bag, and just like that's crazy. I think, unfortunately, we're on the precipice of a whole generation of filmmakers
No, we're
who
not.
like
No, we're not. No, 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 no. Don't even say that, Gene. No, no, no. Steven will live forever. James Cameron will live to, Quentin, like Martin Scorsese. No, no, no. They will
Marty,
live forever.
Marty. Well, because the thing is, like, I know personally, like, I'm gonna be devastated when inevitably, like, Mel Brooks and Clint Eastwood pass away because they're like in their 90s,
Well, Mel Brooks
like
just turned 99.
98, like he's 99 years old, and he's doing Spaceballs too. Like, it's just, it's gonna be weird because obviously, like, they're making Spaceballs too, but like Mel Brooks hasn't been like actively doing things
Hmm, hmm.
in a long time. But like Clint Eastwood just released a movie like last year.
But to be
And
fair, I've seen the video, like of the or seen clips of the video of the announcement. He seems fucking chipper for his age. I'm like, like knowing him, he's a good businessman and he's got a sense of humor. He makes the movie, and just before it releases, he dies, so they can promote the fuck out of it. That's it. Like that's what a great businessman would do, right? Like that's the ultimate fool. That's the ultimate.
it's
Like
gonna come out right after his 100th birthday.
yes, he'll be like, oh, I'm waiting for 100, and it's gonna come out like day after, and it's like, all right, I'm packing it in, and he like, oh, like willingly he will die, like, and then now sell my movie.
He fades into the Schwartz.
Yes,
And
he
then he's
becomes
like,
one with the Schwartz.
my
Yes,
money potential has never been this amazing.
and we finally found more money.
Yeah.
It all comes full circle.
It all comes full circle. This was the plan all along.
Yes.
This is what he came up with for the search for more money.
Hmm,
What last question for you, Luke? What are 5 films you would recommend to people that were released before you were born?
hmm. So I interpreted this question in a way where I'm gonna rattle off some movies where I think they are still underseen. So these five I'm about to name, I think general knowing public should know and should check out because I could, yeah, I could give you Jaws, I could give you Back to the Future, I could give you all these, like, because I'm not that old. I'm only born 1991. So like I can give you all of these great movies. But like in all people know about this. They all talk about it. So my first one, we've already mentioned The Red Shoes. I think that whether you're a cinephile or not, it needs to be on your list. It's a beautiful movie. It's a spectacular made movie. And it's just, yeah, it's awesome. Another one we've also talked to you about, Shane. The Wages of Fear from 1953.
Yes.
That movie, I've rewatched it for your podcast, Shane, for
Mhm.
retrospective, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And it's a beautiful Blu-ray. And they just released 4K.
Hmm.
And I rarely do this, but I think I'm gonna upgrade because that movie deserves it.
Nice.
Because I just absolutely adore that movie, and I think that's how you make a tension movie, but also character movie. That's one of a kind, and yeah. Speaking of movies in the cinema, that could have been also another. Imagine
Mhm.
being in a cinema for that movie.
I would have taken that or Sorcerer.
Yeah,
to see in a theater for the first time. Both would have been amazing
yeah.
experiences.
So my third one is All That Jazz, which I've seen for the first time this year.
Hmm.
I didn't know what to expect. For some reason, I got it confused. I think with Cabaret with Barbara Streisand. Is Cabaret is or is it
It
Liza
has
Minnelli?
Liza.
Liza,
Yeah.
yeah. So I thought it's this movie, and it wasn't. I'm like, oh, okay, so it's not. Okay, I'm a dumbass. Let's watch this anyway. And I was like, wow.
Hmm.
Like,
Roy
n-
Scheider.
no. First of all, underrated as like genuinely like I no, not even underrated. I feel like because of many people have not seen many of his older movies or
Yeah.
this movie, they forget how great of an actor he actually was. Because
Yeah.
obviously we all know him from
It's just
Jaws,
Jaws.
right?
Yeah.
Yes, yes. But I'm like, he is like that was a performance. And
Hmm.
when you think you've seen it all, the last 20 minutes happen and it all goes totally wild, but in the best
Yeah.
way possible. And I'm like, not it doesn't happen often to me, but when that movie finished, I wanted to click that play button again, like instantly. I was like that was a like genuinely that like one of the best movies I've seen, like not just this year, but like ever. Like
Bob
all that
Fosse was a creator for
he
sure.
he surely was. And just like that search for exception and search for excellence and just pushing yourself and living the same day over and over, how he does the mirror thing and brushing, just no,
And that was a
so great.
semi-autobiographical film too.
Yes,
And
yes.
also, let's point out that Bob Fosse beat Francis Ford Coppola for Best Director when Bob Fosse won for Cabaret over The Godfather. 70s were a wild time.
Choices were made, okay.
Choices were made.
Choices, as one of drag queens would say, choices. Anyway, so next one is my oldest movie, Sunrise: A Song of Two Humans from 1927.
Yep.
F.W. Murrow, I believe it's his movie. If you think silent movies are boring and cannot touch you on a deeper level, like watch
You're
that movie.
boring.
No, like watch that movie. I was contemplating this or The Phantom Carriage, but I've
Mm,
settled because that's also a great Swedish movie. But like I settled on this because I still remember watching it in not a great quality back when I was not as smart, and I still thought this was a exceptionally human story. Well, it is story or song of two humans, so it better be. And I just thought, damn, 1927, and many things you can track to this day from this movie. Like,
yeah,
impactful movie, great movie. Everybody should watch it, even if it's a silent movie. Yeah, it is, but it's great.
yeah,
And my last pick, so everybody always mentions the good, the bad, and the ugly as one of the best westerns, which it is, and it's a great
yes.
movie. I'm not gonna blame you. Neck to neck, though, I think this needs to be in a conversation. Once Upon a Time in the West, 1968, harmonica, the soundtrack, the direction, the sense of scope, there is a shot where I still remember. I remember watching it for only once, and I still fucking remember that shot where we first meet. No, no, not first. Sorry, but when is it Henry Fonda who's in that movie? Yeah,
That's Frank.
he.
Yeah.
Yes, he shows up in that, and he hears harmonica for the first time, and he doesn't see it because it's in like a poor lit like a cabin or something, and
Yeah.
he throws the lantern to that way, and then like the music escalates and it just
Hmm.
doo doo doo, and the shadow as the Ennio Morricone score doo 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 is playing. I was 14, 15 when I saw it for the first and only time so far. I need to rewatch it. I need to rewatch it. And I remember thinking, this is something different than the movies I usually watch. Like this speaks to me on a different level. I couldn't even describe at the time, but I knew I'm seeing something beautiful, extraordinary, and something I don't see that often. And I was fucking 14, dumbass.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, this is beautiful. And again, I love the good, the bad, and the ugly. But I think this movie must be considered in the best Western conversation of all time because
Because
this
it is.
movie.
And as a Western connoisseur, and especially out of most of the people that we are in like our movie circle aren't like
Mm,
big Western fans.
mm-mm.
Like I'd be shocked if anybody loves Westerns more than I do out of like all of our like SiftPop community. This movie, which one, Sergio Leone
Oh,
was a
yes.
master filmmaker. And this is just as epic and significant and iconic as The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. What's wild is the original plan was to have the three of them be in that opening scene
Mm,
and try to confront Harmonica, Charles Bronson, which I literally just quoted this movie 2 days ago. It's
nice.
just like, oh, we have one, oh, we're missing a horse. Like, no, you have too many. And it's just like the most badass line ever. Charles Bronson just being like, no, you're all gonna die.
Yeah.
And the music from Ennio Morricone. There are at least three or four themes from this movie that are iconic and
Everybody will recognize.
absolutely
Everybody.
amazing music. And you have harmonica and Frank and Cheyenne.
Mm,
Jason Robards is so damn good as this roguish kind of outlaw and Cheyenne and his facial hair and everything. The revelation of who harmonica is and who
yeah.
he is in relation to Frank is just like
Mm-hmm.
that reveal is incredible. This film is masterful.
It
And
is.
Claudia Cardinale, just gorgeous woman,
Like
absolutely gorgeous.
she
And
exudes like the femininity, but also like this like feminine strength. Like
mhm,
she is like the prototype of, hey, she is a strong woman without being, hey, I'm a strong woman, I'll tell you, and I'll
yeah,
have muscles to show you because such a strong woman. No, she is a feminine, yet she like you can tell she's been through shit, and
yeah,
she's not gonna take any shit. And
just that all five of those recommendations are absolutely amazing and would second that emotion. So there you go. You should check out all five of them, people, if you
yes.
haven't seen them. And even if you have seen them, you should rewatch them.
Mm-hmm.
But Luke, I would like to wrap up the show as I have my guest ask me a question. So what would you like to ask the Wasteland reviewer?
Mm-hmm. So, totally off the fly, I know you said off the mic that you want to travel more, obviously once you're like not sick and all that, and finance permitting. So outside of America, outside of USA, where do you think is going to be your first ever trip? Because you've never been outside of America, right?
I have technically,
Don't say
but
Canada. Don't say
yeah,
Canada.
it's not America yet, Luke. Um
Soon.
I went to Niagara Falls, Canada,
Fair,
which
fair.
the only Canadian thing I did was go to a Tim Hortons. So like that doesn't really count.
Timmy.
Um my tier list is number 1 is Ireland,
Okay.
number 2 is Scotland,
Mm-hmm.
my number 3 is Italy,
Mm.
my number 4 is Australia,
Mm-hmm.
and my number 5 would be Japan.
That's a good list.
Japan would be the most complex one for me personally because food wise, it's going to be a challenge because I have a very limited palate and I'm a very boring
Uh-huh.
eater. So,
Ah.
like, but I want to see Ireland and Scotland. Like, I love Irish culture. I love Irish music. I love Irish accents. Um, I literally 3 straight years in a row, my favorite movie was from Ireland,
Nice.
which was such a strange realization. I'm like, Wolfwalkers,
Mm-hmm.
Belfast, Banshees of Inisherin. I'm like,
Great
I'm
movies.
sensing a pattern here.
Yeah.
And like I love Gaelic culture
Mhm.
and that kind of stuff. And I would love to go to Scotland, go to the
Mhm.
Highlands and stuff like that. So Ireland would be first. But like I could make a trip, like I could just hop over to Scotland too while I'm there. Cause it's like, trust me, I'm from America. This shit's big.
Yes.
Like
Oh no.
I I drove I drive 10 hours to see my brother and go through New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, Tennessee to North Carolina.
Hmm.
So basically I'm like I drive through like 6 European countries to go see my brother because that's kind of what it's like here.
Yes.
So like I would love to be able to do that. I'm just a hobbit and I have to like really push myself
Hmm.
to try to do these things. But those are the ones I'd really like to go see. I would probably have Italy higher, but I don't want to be an asshole and show up and speak horrifically bad Italian.
I mean, look, if you ever actually end up in Scotland, you're more than welcome. Like, like obviously I live
Oh
here,
no,
so
like legitimately, Luke, one day, one day we
hmm
will meet. And
hope
one
so.
day I will go to Australia and go
Hmm.
see Adam, go hang out with Alice. Because I actually got to meet Alice in person, which was really cool.
Oh yeah, I always
Ever
forget.
so briefly for
Hmm.
her couple hours she was in Philly. Because I live right next to Philadelphia. But it's one of those things, and like I love Japanese culture. Like if I had to pick from a cinema perspective, my favorite other country cinema is Japan. Like
Hmm.
leaps and bounds, it's
Okay.
Japan. Because between all the samurai films and anime, like
Hmm.
it's good.
You're set. Yeah.
I'm like, the most profound thing I ever said is Japanese cinema. Shit's good. So there you go. But I appreciated your question, Luke, because it was different. It wasn't about movies, but I made it about
Hmm.
movies. So
As we do, as we do.
as we do. But Luke, thank you as always for coming on and talking movies with me.
Always a blast. Thank you so much for having me, Shane.
And you all should go check out Flix and Chill and all the other shit we do on the SPM Crew Podcasting Network. There's a lot of it. I'm not going to do my spiel because this isn't on the podcasting network, but you should go check it out. Shameless plugs all around. But thank all of you out there for always tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.